Have you ever wondered why doctors are now calling erectile dysfunction the canary in the coal mine for men's health? What if I told you that ED isn't just about intimacy, it could be your body's way of warning you about something far more serious? For millions of men over 50, erectile dysfunction feels like a private shame, something they should just accept as part of getting older. But what most men don't realize is that ED can be the first sign of life-threatening conditions that, when caught early, are completely treatable. I'm here today because too many good men are suffering in silence, missing critical warning signs that could save their lives. Today, I'm sharing 7 shocking truths that doctors want every older man to know about erectile dysfunction. These aren't just medical facts. They're potentially life-saving insights that could change everything about how you view your health. And the 6th truth? It's something 90% of men get completely wrong. If you're watching this because you or someone you love is dealing with ED, comment "truth" below. You're not alone, and this information could be exactly what you need. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Health Central for more honest health discussions that could save lives. Now, let me share with you the first shocking truth through the story of a man who learned it the hardest way possible. Robert was a 58-year-old mechanic from Ohio, the kind of guy who prided himself on being tough. He'd worked with his hands his whole life, rarely complained, and thought doctor visits were for weak men. When he started experiencing erectile dysfunction, he brushed it off as just part of getting older. His wife suggested he see a doctor, but Robert figured it wasn't serious enough to worry about. 2 years later, Robert collapsed at work with a massive heart attack. As he lay in the cardiac intensive care unit, his cardiologist told him something that shocked him to his core. "Robert, your erectile dysfunction was your heart trying to warn you about blocked arteries for years. If you had come to see us when the ED started, we could have prevented this heart attack entirely." Here's what was happening in Robert's body, and what might be happening in yours. The blood vessels in your penis are much smaller than the ones leading to your heart, typically only 1 to 2 millimeters in diameter compared to 3 to 4 millimeters for coronary arteries. When you develop atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque in your arteries, these smaller vessels get blocked first. Think of it like a plumbing system in an old house. When the pipes start getting clogged, the smallest pipes show problems first, while the larger ones still seem to work fine. Studies published in the Journal of the American Medical Association show that men with erectile dysfunction are 80% more likely to develop cardiovascular disease within 3 to 5 years. The American Heart Association now recognizes ED as a predictor of future cardiac events, sometimes showing up 2 to 5 years before a heart attack or stroke. If you're experiencing erectile dysfunction, especially if it came on gradually over months or years, don't just treat the symptom, get a complete cardiovascular screening. This could literally save your life, just like it could have saved Robert from his heart attack. But Robert's story connects to another shocking discovery that most men never consider. Meet Tom, a 62-year-old retired teacher who came to his doctor frustrated and embarrassed about his erectile dysfunction. His doctor immediately started discussing ED medications, but what neither of them realized was that Tom's medicine cabinet was full of prescription bottles that were actually causing his problem. Tom was taking a blood pressure medication, an antidepressant for mild depression, a prescription antihistamine for allergies, and a medication for his enlarged prostate. What Tom's doctor failed to mention was that all 4 of these medications were listed in the medical literature as potential causes of erectile dysfunction. Tom spent 6 months trying different ED medications with limited success, when the real solution was reviewing the medications he was already taking. Here's what most men don't know: over 200 commonly prescribed medications can interfere with erectile function. Blood pressure medications, particularly older ones like beta blockers, can significantly reduce blood flow. Many antidepressants can decrease libido and make it difficult to achieve erections. Even antihistamines, both prescription and over-the-counter, can cause erectile problems by affecting the nervous system. The tragedy is that many men never think to mention their bedroom problems during medical visits, missing the connection entirely. Tom's story has a happy ending though. Once his doctor conducted a comprehensive medication review, they were able to switch his medications to alternatives that didn't affect sexual function. Within 2 months, Tom's erectile function returned to near normal levels without any additional ED medication. What's even more heartbreaking is how this physical problem creates an emotional crisis that nobody talks about. David had always been the life of the party. For 30 years of marriage, he was the guy who made everyone laugh at family gatherings, who planned romantic getaways with his wife, who exuded confidence in every room he entered. Then, at age 54, David began experiencing erectile dysfunction. Within 6 months, David's wife Maria noticed dramatic changes. Her outgoing, affectionate husband became withdrawn. He stopped initiating physical affection entirely and made excuses to avoid social gatherings. What Maria didn't know was that David was battling shame so deep that he was seriously considering ending their 30-year marriage rather than face what he saw as his complete failure as a man. Research shows that men with erectile dysfunction are 3 times more likely to develop clinical depression and anxiety disorders. For many men, sexual performance is deeply tied to their sense of masculinity, their identity as a provider and protector. When erectile dysfunction strikes, it's not just about sex, it's about feeling like they've lost their fundamental identity as a man. The shame cycle becomes self-perpetuating. A man experiences erectile dysfunction, which causes anxiety and stress. That stress makes the erectile dysfunction worse, which creates more stress. Soon, the fear of sexual failure becomes so overwhelming that it actually guarantees failure. Many men start avoiding all physical intimacy because they're terrified it might lead to a situation where their erectile dysfunction will be exposed. Communication becomes crucial, and David's story illustrates this perfectly. With Maria's patient support and professional counseling, David learned that his worth as a husband and man wasn't defined by his erectile function. They found new ways to be intimate and connected, and eventually, as David's anxiety decreased, his erectile function improved significantly. Now here's something that might surprise you about David's situation and erectile dysfunction in general. At 72 years old, Frank was told by his family doctor that erectile dysfunction was simply normal for his age and that he should just accept it as part of getting older. Frank left that appointment feeling defeated and hopeless. For 6 months, he accepted what his doctor had told him. Frustrated, Frank's wife Eleanor insisted they get a second opinion from a urologist. That appointment changed everything. The new doctor discovered that Frank had developed type 2 diabetes that had gone undiagnosed for years, his testosterone levels had dropped significantly, and 2 of his medications were known to contribute to erectile dysfunction. 6 months later, after getting his diabetes under control, optimizing his testosterone levels, and switching medications, Frank's erectile dysfunction was completely resolved. At 73, Frank was enjoying better sexual health than he'd had in his 60s. The problem wasn't Frank's age, it was treatable medical conditions that happened to develop as he got older. While erectile dysfunction does become more common with age, it is not caused by aging itself. It's caused by the accumulation of health issues that often accompany aging. Studies show that healthy men in their 70s and 80s can maintain erectile function comparable to much younger men when underlying health conditions are properly managed. Frank's transformation also reveals another powerful truth that most men overlook completely. Mike had tried everything. At 59, he'd spent nearly $2,000 over 2 years on various erectile dysfunction medications. Some worked occasionally, others gave him headaches that made him feel worse than the original problem. Frustrated and nearly ready to give up, Mike mentioned his struggles to his daughter, who happened to be a registered dietitian. She asked him a question that no doctor had ever asked, "Dad, what does your diet look like on a typical day?" As Mike described his eating habits, fast food lunches, processed dinners, very few fruits or vegetables, she explained something that would change his life. Erectile function depends entirely on blood flow, and the foods he was eating every day were actively damaging his cardiovascular system. She designed a specific nutrition plan for Mike focused on foods that improve circulation. Within 3 months, Mike noticed improvements that surpassed anything he'd achieved with medication alone. Your diet has a direct and powerful impact on your erectile function, often more powerful than medication. Foods rich in nitrates, like beets, leafy greens, and watermelon, get converted in your body to nitric oxide, which is the same chemical pathway that erectile dysfunction medications target. Antioxidant-rich foods like blueberries, pomegranates, and dark chocolate help repair damage to blood vessel walls. The Mediterranean diet has been shown in multiple studies to improve erectile function significantly, with men following it having up to a 40% lower risk of developing erectile dysfunction. Mike started every day with a smoothie containing spinach, berries, and beets. He switched to olive oil for cooking, ate fish twice a week, and had nuts as snacks instead of chips. The changes were noticeable within weeks, providing 24/7 support for vascular health rather than just temporary medication effects. But there's another daily habit that's even more overlooked, and this connects to something that was happening to James, a 55-year-old accountant. James was doing everything right. He'd improved his diet, started exercising regularly, managed his stress, and was taking ED medication as prescribed. Yet his erectile dysfunction seemed to be getting worse instead of better. During a routine appointment, James mentioned that he was feeling exhausted despite sleeping 7 to 8 hours every night. His wife had also complained that his snoring was getting louder and that sometimes she noticed he would stop breathing for several seconds during the night. His doctor immediately ordered a sleep study, and the results were shocking. James was experiencing sleep apnea with an average of 30 breathing interruptions per hour. Once James started using a CPAP machine and began focusing on overall sleep quality, his erectile function improved more dramatically than any other treatment he had tried. During deep sleep stages, your body produces the majority of its testosterone. Poor sleep can reduce testosterone production by 10 to 15% in just 1 week. Chronic sleep deprivation can lower testosterone levels by 25% or more. Sleep apnea, which affects an estimated 60% of men over 50, is particularly devastating for erectile function. Every time breathing stops during sleep apnea, oxygen levels drop, damaging the blood vessel cells that need to be healthy for strong erections. James now gets genuinely restorative sleep for the first time in years, and his erectile function is better than it was in his 40s. The connection between sleep and sexual health leads us to the most shocking truth of all, one that could end the unnecessary suffering of millions of men. Carl suffered with progressively worsening erectile dysfunction for 5 long years. He watched his 35-year marriage slowly strain, his confidence crumble, and he sank into a depression that affected every aspect of his life. Carl was convinced his situation was hopeless. He'd tried one type of ED medication years earlier with limited success, so he assumed that was the end of his options. He was too embarrassed to bring up the subject with his doctor and suffered in complete silence. Finally, his wife Susan reached her breaking point and insisted they see a doctor together. Within one appointment with a urologist who specialized in men's health, Carl learned about multiple treatment options he never knew existed. The doctor explained that erectile dysfunction treatment had advanced dramatically, and that success rates were higher than ever. Carl discovered he was an ideal candidate for testosterone replacement therapy, learned about newer ED medications that work differently, and found out about injection therapy, vacuum devices, and even cutting-edge treatments like low-intensity shockwave therapy. Most importantly, the comprehensive evaluation revealed high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, and early signs of diabetes, all conditions that, when properly treated, significantly improved his erectile function. Within 6 months, Carl's physical health, sexual function, emotional well-being, and marriage were all dramatically transformed. This illustrates the most tragic truth about erectile dysfunction: millions of men are suffering unnecessarily when effective help is readily available. We now have more treatment options for erectile dysfunction than at any point in human history. The success rate for men who work with qualified healthcare providers is over 90%. Yet despite all these options, less than 25% of men with erectile dysfunction ever seek medical treatment. Carl now tells every man he knows, don't waste years of your life suffering like I did. There are solutions available that I never imagined. The only thing I regret is waiting so long to get help. The help is out there, the treatments work, and the only question is whether you'll have the courage to take the first step. I know that hearing these 7 truths can be overwhelming, especially if you've been struggling with erectile dysfunction and feeling hopeless. But instead of seeing this as frightening, try to see it as empowering. Your erectile dysfunction isn't a personal failing. It's your body communicating with you, giving you information that could save your life. Every truth we've discussed represents an opportunity. Addressing your ED might prevent a heart attack like Robert's. Simple medication adjustments could solve your problem like Tom's. Understanding the mental health connection could save your relationship like David's. Knowing that age isn't the barrier could give you hope like Frank found. Improving your diet could transform your health like Mike experienced. Better sleep could change everything like it did for James. And seeking help could end your suffering like it did for Carl. If you recognize yourself in any of these stories, don't wait another day. Schedule that doctor's appointment, have that conversation with your partner, start making dietary changes, prioritize your sleep, review your medications, and take control of your health. Let's quickly recap these 7 shocking truths. First, ED is often your heart's early warning system. Second, many medications might be secretly causing your problem. Third, erectile dysfunction creates a mental health crisis that affects your entire sense of self-worth. Fourth, age is not the real enemy, underlying health conditions are. Fifth, the foods you eat have a more powerful impact on erectile function than most men realize. Sixth, sleep quality controls hormone production and vascular health. And seventh, effective help is available everywhere, with success rates exceeding 90%. Which of these truths surprised you the most? Have you experienced any of these connections in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what other men's health topics you'd like me to cover on Elderly Health Central. If this video opened your eyes to new possibilities and gave you hope, please subscribe to Elderly Health Central. We're committed to bringing you honest, potentially life-changing health information. Hit that notification bell and the like button to help more men find this information. Remember, seeking help isn't admitting defeat, it's taking charge of your life. Stay informed, stay proactive, and don't suffer in silence when help is available. I'll see you in the next video where we'll continue supporting each other on this journey to better health. Until then, take care of yourself, and remember, you're worth the effort it takes to get better.